Now, turning to our program, please welcome Milwaukee County Supervisor Peter Burgelis to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, President Hauser. Thank you, Rotarians. Thank you, colleagues from the County Board, for being here today to support County Executive Crowley and Rotary. This is a great example of the collaboration that you see in local government today, without which our historic shared revenue reform and local financial and fiscal stability would not have taken place. Since being sworn into office in May of 2020, County Executive David Crowley has led the implementation of the very first county-wide strategic plan in 20 years, focusing on the county with a vision of achieving racial equity, and by doing so, becoming the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin. That strategic plan was recently amended to require supervisors to wear shirts during committee meetings. Thank you for that. But under County Executive Crowley's leadership, Milwaukee County has diversified positions at the cabinet department level as well as boards and commissions. In addition, he has also streamlined government to improve access and quality of services to residents. As a lifelong Milwaukee resident, County Executive Crowley knows as well as anyone that Milwaukee County is truly a tale of two counties. He has lived the pain and struggles that many in our communities face every day. He knows the joy of bringing people together to conquer those challenges and struggles. The fundamental tenet of Executive Crowley's administration is to build bridges to bring people together and not walls that keep them apart. David is a member of numerous community organizations, including the ACLU, Milwaukee Urban League Young Professionals, and the Milwaukee NAACP. He was recently elected to the National Association of Counties as a caucus chairperson. He attended Bayview High School, UW-Milwaukee, and currently lives with his wife Erica and his 3 young daughters in Milwaukee. Please welcome our county executive and my friend, David Crowley.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Peter, and poking fun of yourself. Truly appreciate all that you all have done. Again, I am County Executive David Crowley, and I want to say thank you as well to the Rotary Club of Milwaukee for inviting me to join you all this afternoon. And honestly, as we end the year of 2023, I've literally been spending a lot of time reflecting on the work that we've accomplished during this historic year to bring us closer to our vision of achieving racial equity and making Milwaukee County the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin. And I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to not only just have conversations about what we have done, but really share and discuss the community's future with you all. Because Milwaukee is home. It is near and dear to me in making sure that I do everything to make this place better. I was born and I was raised here. And to be quite frank with you, I don't know if I ever want to live in Milwaukee, at least not anytime soon. But it's a beautiful place where I met my wife and we have the opportunity to raise our 3 young daughters here. But I truly believe that no matter what your background is, no matter where you're coming from in the world, Milwaukee has something to offer for everyone. And that's why it's so important for me to continue working with the residents of Milwaukee County, because again, this is personal for me. Now, when I took office in 2020, my number one priority was making sure that we could put Milwaukee County on a path of fiscal sustainability. And primarily driven by the Wisconsin Act 12, I'm proud to say that we have made incredible progress in achieving that goal. Milwaukee County finds itself in a vastly improved budgetary environment than in years past. In fact, we projected a surplus in 2024 in our 2024 budget, the first surplus that we have had in Milwaukee County in over 20 years. Thank you. Now, many folks know that in the past, when we were developing our budget, it really meant taking on the nearly impossible task of determining which potential cuts will be least harmful to our Milwaukee County residents. But this year we had a different opportunity. We had an opportunity to invest in some of the most beneficial services as well as resources for all of our residents. And these investments in our community include, particularly, that I want to point out, the largest property tax reduction in Milwaukee County's history. So I want to say thank you to the Milwaukee County Board, because in this 2024 budget, Milwaukee County's property tax levy was reduced by over $20 million, putting real money back into the pockets of Milwaukee County residents. And so the average homeowner will see their county property taxes be reduced by nearly $100. But at the same time, when inflation is top of mind for our residents and many of our families throughout the community, this reduction is a much needed step in the right direction, and it's going to help provide some relief for folks throughout this community. But as I look forward to the next year in 2024, I know that more is needed to continue moving Milwaukee County forward. And I'll be honest, I am ready to take on all of these challenges. But I wanted to make time today to acknowledge all of the work that we have done in my administration in conjunction with the Milwaukee County Board in 2023. Again, my vision is that by achieving racial equity, Milwaukee County can become the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin. And I'm proud to say that within our budgets, within the work that we have been doing, we're witnessing the progress of achieving our goals. Milwaukee County's no wrong door model. This is an approach that really guides our work in realizing our vision and really improving the health outcomes for our entire community. By integrating service areas, programs, and connections of service across the continuum of care in our Department of Health and Human Services, we are removing barriers to not only access, but we're also providing opportunities and improved care for our residents. In October, we broke down on the new Marshall P. Cox Health and Human Service building. And for the first time, Milwaukee County will have a building designed specifically to deliver health and human service programs that help eliminate physical barriers, creating a warm and welcoming location, and improving the access that many of our families and individuals need to get the resources that they absolutely deserve to have. We also announced the placement of 11 harm reduction vending machines in key locations all throughout Milwaukee County to combat substance use, overdose, as well as gun access. These machines provide free access to reduction and prevention supplies, including fentanyl testing strips, nasal naloxone, medication deactivation pouches, medication lock bags, as well as gun locks. Now, I'm excited to see what this program is going to do as we continue to expand even more vending machines in the next upcoming year. Also in 2022, we opened up the Mental Health Emergency Center, intentionally moving mental health services out of the Wauwatosa area and into a neighborhood where the vast majority of the residents who are always seeking our assistance in emergency psychiatric care actually live in. 70% of the people that we serve live in or around the King Park neighborhood. So moving this building to that area not only creates an ease of access, but it also creates some efficiencies for us. And within this first year of operations, the Milwaukee Mental Health Emergency Center served over 7,000 individuals that was experiencing mental health and substance use disorders that was related to crisis. But our vision to become the healthiest county in Wisconsin doesn't just refer to our health services. Housing is a matter of public health. Public safety is a matter of public health. And healthy built environments needs robust parks in our communities for everyone to be able to enjoy. Our shared vision for Milwaukee County includes expanding equitable access to safe, quality, and affordable housing. And I know firsthand the effects that housing instability can have on our residents. That's why we're creating pathways to affordable housing and working to prevent homelessness, and working within our housing first philosophy is a huge priority of mine. In addition to receiving several new long-term grants totaling $2 million to expand our homeless prevention and intervention services, the Milwaukee County Department of Health and Human Services expanded our homeless outreach team as well to significantly decrease the time that individuals are experiencing unsheltered homelessness in our community. And it's extremely powerful because it gives us the ability to really build upon the fact that for the past 2 years, Milwaukee County has been recognized of having the lowest unsheltered homeless population of any community their size in 2021 and 2022. And so we're allocating an additional we allocated $15 million of ARPA funds to our affordable housing developments in 5 different suburbs, generating 38 units for our seniors and 80 units for people with disabilities. And we're currently having some construction go underway on 120 brand new single family homes in the King Park neighborhood so Milwaukee renters can become homeowners, creating housing stability and generational wealth for many of our residents. Now, many folks may not know, but we also renamed the House of Corrections. And we renamed it to the Community Reintegration Center in 2022. And the point of this is that we really wanted to signal to the community that our commitment is really to reducing recidivism rather than administering punishment. And so I envision a community reintegration center as a place for individuals who are in our care to not only grow, but to become productive members of our society. They should become even better people than before they entered our building. And one way that we are setting up our CRC residents up for future success is through our occupational training program. For the first time since 2008, we brought on-site occupational skills training back with the partnership of Employ Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Community Justice Council, and MATC, the Milwaukee Area Technical College. And so our CRC residents will now have opportunities to earn a digital badge in welding, getting some college credits, as well as an opportunity to pursue employment and a welding career post their release. According to our Bureau of Labor Statistics, the number of jobs in the welding field is expected to increase by 22%. And so we envision that this program will set up our CRC residents so when they leave our care, they're in a much better position than when they first arrived. But in order to have a healthier community, it's also important for our residents and our families to have a place for recreation, a place to relax, a place to exercise both for their mental and physical health. And so throughout the past few decades, our Milwaukee County Parks staff particularly have been forced to find creative solutions to keep our parks beautiful with fewer and fewer and fewer resources. But even with the limited resources, our team at Milwaukee County Parks, they've completed 16 capital projects this year and planted over 360 new trees. But because of the budget surplus in this upcoming year, I'm proud to share with all of you that we are investing over $23 million back into our Milwaukee County Parks in projects, but we've also created 18 new full-time positions to support their operations, their maintenance, and even more. Now, there are some of the many accomplishments from this past year, and if I shared all of them, we will be here for a very, very long time, and I'm really proud of that because we've been working on our relationship with the state, working on our relationship with local municipalities to make sure that we're not only bringing resources back to this community, but we're changing the perspective and the narrative of our entire county. But the success of these projects and these programs doesn't necessarily occur in a vacuum. So I'm grateful for the many Milwaukee County employees that are working on the front lines, working towards us achieving our vision. And I ask you to join me in giving them a round of applause, please. But I'm also grateful to be a part of this community, and being out in the community is something that I wanted to make sure that I do. I want to be one of the most accessible elected officials out here. So being a part of this is extremely powerful and inspiring because I truly believe that the priorities that we have been able to implement and put forth have really come from this entire community. And so when I'm determining my Milwaukee County priorities for Milwaukee County, the most vital input that I get is really speaking to people like yourselves, going out there, stepping outside of our comfort zone and talking to the people on the grounds that need our assistance and our resources. And so hearing from those directly is extremely powerful, and it has helped those who are directly affected by these challenges that they face. But more importantly, those who are facing these challenges, they are being empowered because they are also coming up with many of the solutions. Because I cannot do this work alone. I can only do this work with folks like yourselves. Because we are one county with one vision, and I believe together we will achieve that vision. And so I want to say thank you for this opportunity to be able to address you all, and I will open the floor up for any questions you may have.
If you have a question for the county executive, you may ask the question using this microphone here. And as a reminder, please keep your questions topical and concise. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
As someone who is owed a significant amount of money in restitution from someone in the correctional facility, and your talk about jobs and reducing the recidivism rate, is there a way to help, especially like maybe in the parks or some of the DPW shortfalls, by giving some of these people job opportunities in the community? Because I don't seem to see that like I did when I was a kid.
So are you asking about like volunteer while they're inside?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do provide opportunities for folks to actually get their time reduced. We can't affect necessarily like restitution and things of that nature because they are actually set by judges who are state of Wisconsin employees. But that's one of the reasons why we created these programs and these services, to help them find a quicker and better pipeline, not just into employment as well, but as well as for housing. And so one of the things that we also did for many of our CRC residents is we set aside about $200,000 to create a pilot program so when individuals are being released, that they can find some housing themselves. We can't expect somebody to go to the exact same environment they were in and decide that they're going to do something different. So we are providing some of those resources. We're working hand in hand, not only with their support systems, but many of the residents in our care to figure out what's the best thing for them to do once they're getting ready to be released.
Can they help in the parks actually like maintain them?
So that's a great question that I don't know the answer to, because I think that we can do some things, but I think it's based off of is going to be based off of our superintendent as well being able to release individuals. Now there are people who are within our care who are on Huber, so they get released every day to go to work. But that's something I can actually look into. Mm-hmm.
County Executive Crowley, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm very heartened to hear of your emphasis on the programs and development of healthy communities. My question is this: unfortunately, Milwaukee continues to be one of the highest human trafficking corridors in the United States, and so I'm wondering what your administration is doing to work with local and federal law enforcement to address this continuing and pressing and growing issue.
Great question. So Milwaukee County, we do have a human trafficking task force, and we have many different relationships with many different nonprofits and community organizations on the ground. And when you think about our sheriff's office, Sheriff Danita Ball is working hand in hand with our Milwaukee Police Department, as well as our federal officials to work on this. And what I would say is that when we're tackling human trafficking, no one entity is going to be able to solve these problems. We have to make sure that we continue to talk about this, because this isn't a problem that is going away anytime soon. And so we have to continue to educate the community about what signs are there when you see some level of human trafficking and what you can do to step up. Because by the time we are calling the police, we're kind of behind the eight ball, right? And so we need to figure out, how do we start to have conversations and really invest upstream to stop many of these things from happening in the first place? And that's one of the reasons why within this budget, we're focusing on proactive investments. Even within our parks, right? We know that these can be places that, crime can occur. But how do we start reimagining our parks, making sure that we have more line of sight, more lights out there so people can have that safe space, but making sure that we are not contributing to some of the crime elements that we're seeing throughout the county.
Besides all of the great things that you're doing, what plans do you have to reduce crime and poverty on North Avenue from 35th Street down to the freeway on 8th? It is one of the worst in our state.
That's a great question. So as Milwaukee County, I represent all 19 different municipalities. So trying to focus on one particular area wouldn't be within our purview per se. But what I can tell you is this. The mayor and I have a monthly meeting to figure out what we can do to team up to tackle many of the issues that we're facing. Particularly as we talk about crime, we know that we have an issue as it relates to the opioid epidemic and with mental health. So we are looking to invest and strengthen our mental health partnerships to make sure that people can get the absolute help that they need whenever they're in a crisis or even before a crisis actually occurs. But I think this is one of the reasons why we continue to talk about upstream investments. When we talk about housing, when we particularly, I guess, the best way to talk about is the social determinants of health. When we think about the social determinants of health, that's what we need to invest in to make sure that communities in that particular area, down the street from St. Anne's, are becoming even more prosperous. And so, again, particularly for that neighborhood, a neighborhood that I grew up in and spent a lot of time a community organizing in, it's really about how do we make sure that those residents have access to the resources that they need to make their community even more better. But I will tell you, we need a better partnership with the state of Wisconsin. Yes, we've been able to do great things throughout Milwaukee County for the past few years, but we need to strengthen that relationship because we need more resources, especially being the largest economic engine of the state, in order to really tackle these issues. Because as long as we're successful, the entire state will be successful.
Thank you for coming to Rotary. Last week you were at a WisPolitics panel in Madison that some of the press corps billed as future governors of Wisconsin on that panel. You talked about tapping beer kegs in other parts of Wisconsin.
Yes.
In a very memorable moment. Can you give us your impression of the similarities between the challenges we have here in Milwaukee County, and the rest of Wisconsin, and what you've learned in your travels around the state?
Well, first and foremost, we have poverty across the rest of the state of Wisconsin, just like we have poverty here in Milwaukee County. But that poverty is looked upon differently. One of the things I realized that we were very similar with is that all local governments, the issues that are facing the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County are not unique to us. Now, we are the largest community by population, and we have a little bit more zeros on our budget, but the same issues affecting how we invest in public safety, invest in our roads, are the same issues that a Wausau or a Rhineland or a La Crosse is also having. And so when we were working on this shared revenue deal to not only get the local option sales tax, but shared revenue increase for all local municipalities, we knew that we couldn't tackle this issue alone. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you're only focusing on Milwaukee issues, that's not the way to bring more people to the table. And so we talked about our issues. And I would tell you, when we first started going out and we did the road tour, and I was in some of these places tapping a golden keg, people looked at us and was like, well, yeah, we know you got problems, but we do too. But when they heard let's work together, that was something that they didn't necessarily hear before. And so the mayor and I literally stepped out our geographical comfort zone and started to build relationships with other local units of government as well as the state legislature to get this over the hump. But we are more similar than we are different. But we have to open up the communications that has some authentic dialogue about what we need to do together to make sure that our prospective communities are thriving as well as the state of Wisconsin.
County Exec.
How you doing?
I am just very proud of you, first of all. Thank you so much for being here. You know, we are a working club. That means we kind of roll up our sleeves and we get busy doing the work of various communities. With all the good that you're doing, I know that people are always looking for what's wrong instead of what's right. But we want to know what we can do to support all the right that you're doing now. And speak to that. And while you're thinking about that, talk a little bit about sustainability as well, because I don't know about the rest of the folks in the room, but this is really the first time that I've had or heard a county exec come to this group and speak about deficits and what was wrong, but this time you come in with what's right. That's pretty interesting, man. Let's give you some glory here. Let's give you your flowers now in terms of what you've done in terms of making this work. And how are you going to keep it going, and what do you need from us?
All right. Well, great question. I wasn't expecting that. Well, one, I could use your support. I'm running for re-election. I am running for re-election. You know, when I talked about how, you know, we had to step outside of our comfort zone and really tell the the real story about all the great things that are happening in Milwaukee County. But what I will tell you is that if I'm the only one having that conversation, and it's the other electeds, the other county board supervisors, and our register of deeds having that conversation, no one's listening because nobody's listening to politicians anymore, right? But you all are seeing and feeling the benefits of the work that we have been doing over the past years. And so some of you, if not all of you, are the best messengers to not only have that conversation with your neighbors, with business leaders and civic leaders right here in our own community. You can all have that conversation with folks who don't understand Milwaukee, who's never even been to Milwaukee. You know, there are people, when we were getting the Brewers deal done, who say, well, why are you bailing out Milwaukee? Not understanding that the state makes more money off of the Brewers than we do as a local community. And so we have to get better at telling our story and really bridging these gaps, bridging these connections, and making sure folks understand that when we do better, they do better. This isn't a us versus them. This is all about us and fighting against those who want to tear us all apart. This is why you hear folks talk about building bridges and not walls, because the more and more we are interconnected and understand how we thrive off of one another, especially our economy, the more and more we're going to be able to bring more resources, bring more businesses, retain our lovely workforce, and continue to be able to do great things.
What's going to happen to the Mitchell Park domes?
That's one question I'm always ready for. So, this is a can that's been kicked down the road for a very long time. And I would, as I look at my supervisors, I think that all of us have been priding ourselves over the past few years of being able to kick up every can that has been kicked down the road. And so there are some conversations that are happening. There isn't anything in stone as far as what we're going to do, but I would say that we are probably closer to finding a solution on the Mitchell Park domes than we ever have before. Not just working with our parks departments and working with our county board supervisors, but there are now some outside entities that want to see some things move forward as well. And so I would tell folks, because no ink is dry as far as what we're going to be able to do, but I would tell you to stay tuned in the next year or two to see what exactly happens with the Mitchell Park domes.
If I could follow up, then what has the best odds of happening there?
With the best odds? Well, it depends on how much more money we can get. I mean, I really don't know. I can't give you, I'm not a betting man. So I really can't tell you the odds, but I will tell you that not only myself, the Parks Department, community members, and board supervisors wants to see something get done. We can't continue to kick this can down the road and continue to spend money on just study after study. We need to have something happen. And I know that Supervisor Martinez, he is the representative over that district. And so I know that he's intricately involved in everything that needs to happen. Not just with the Mitchell Park itself, but with the domes alike.
What's going on, man?
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Likewise.
You look good up there. You talked about your monthly conversations with the mayor. Last year, the mayor talked about his dream of having 1 million people in the city of Milwaukee. I guess two-part question is, one, does that mean anything to you? And two, how has that dream within the city affected strategic planning as a county?
That's a great question, and thank you for that question. So, we deal with a lot of infrastructure. So if we're going to reach 1 million people in the city of Milwaukee, there are things that the county absolutely have to do, right? One, we need to make sure that this is a place that people want to come to. So when you think about our largest used amenities, one, our Milwaukee County Parks Department. How many of you all have a favorite park? Everybody. And anyone who comes into Milwaukee County, when they see our green space, they have never seen anything like this in any urban setting across the country. And so we have to continue to invest in that because one, it's free. But two, it allows for that mental and physical refuge that people yearn for, especially coming out of the pandemic. The other thing that we have to continue to focus on is our transportation system. That's another service that we provide that's non-mandated, but so many people rely on. And so if we're going to attract people to this region, we need to have a public transportation system that is not only efficient, but that can get people to and from wherever they want to go. And so that's another thing that we're focusing on. Another is many of our health and human service programs, right? And so we provide a lot of programs, for example, for birth to 3. If you need to figure out if your child may have a developmental disability. When you think about programs for people with disabilities or our seniors with all of our senior centers, we provide that programming that provides that higher quality of living for many of our individuals. And so those are the things that we want to continue to invest in. And so we look at it as we can focus on our infrastructure. That gives the city an opportunity to become even greater partners, because the better the city does, the better the county does, and vice versa. So we're going to continue to support the city in many of their endeavors. But we know that we have to step up and being proactive to make sure that this is a destination of choice.
Also, when is your strategic plan done?
So the strategic plan is done. So that was one of the very first things that we worked on. I would tell you it was also a headache. I don't know what anyone is like, what anyone thought, or if anyone came into their position in April of 2020 or May of 2020 when you're dealing with the pandemic. But it really gave us an opportunity to really hunker down about what proactive strategies can we start putting into place. And with the strategic plan, we really focus on 3 strategic pillars. The first one is being intentional on who we include, who's at the table. So when you think about our administration, half of my administration are people of color and half of my administration are women. But when you think about our boards and our commissions and our councils, we've even been able to diversify those boards to make sure that those voices are being uplifted. The second thing was bridging the gap. And that's what we talk about, the no wrong door model, which means that if you're a veteran, you're coming in for veteran services, you don't need to go through another door or make another phone call to get housing services or to get health services. We're wrapping around all of these programs and services so we get you within that first touch. Because if we lost you after the first phone call, you've probably fell through the cracks, and we don't want anybody doing that. And then certainly, last but certainly not least, is really putting our money where our mouth is, and that is investing in equity. And we've been seeing that throughout our different departments, as well as with our Office of Equity and our partnerships that we have with both internal and external stakeholders.
Thank you, County Executive.
Thank you. Thank you all.